Welcome to The Life of Hair. My name is James Atkinson. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode. Now, this week's episode actually is one of those episodes where I get lots and lots of comments, not just on YouTube, but on Instagram and places like that, Facebook. And people asking me about grey hair blending and lived-in blondes and well, today's video is really kind of a marriage of those two things. And I was back in the salon this last 10 days and I was really kind of thinking about the things that I do in the salon that are akin to the questions that I get and how I can kind of best show and tell to give you the best all-round answers to a lot of the questions that have come in recently. So in today's episode, we're going to look at two factors: blending grey and going blonder. Doing highlights, we're going to break the base simultaneously, we're going to cover white hair, we're going to diffuse white hair, and we're going to create like a very soft blonde highlighted effect also. So a lot of things happening in this video, but it's very, very simple. So I hope you enjoy it, and if you do, doing the massive favor of hitting that thumbs up button. Subscribe if you haven't yet, or if you're new to the channel, loads of videos come each and every week. And I would love to hear what you think of this video in the comment section. It's always great to hear from you guys, and I will see you again in the next episode. Before I just sign out, a huge thank you to my Patreons, and if you would like to become a Patreon of The Life of Hair and reap the benefits of that subscription, there's a link in the description down below. See you in the next one. A pretty classic scenario here, about 30% white hair, roughly, natural level 4, very difficult to see on the camera, but you can trust me, it's a natural level 4. It's very dark, it's very, very dense hair, it lifts very warm, this hair. Now, what you're seeing is about 1.5 inches of regrowth, and then we've got some COVID regrowth touch-ups on the old root area. Just beyond there, it's blonde. You're going to see right at the end how blonde the ends are. I didn't take a before picture of this because I was kind of halfway through it and I was like, I really want to talk about this sort of technique. So as you can see, I'm doing some foil highlights, nothing new, nothing crazy about these. Quite big weaves. I'm not really being too precise, microfine weaves. I'm just getting the lightness into the hair. I choked. So I've got about 6 inches of natural regrowth, well, plus coloured regrowth intermixed with each other. I wish I'd have shown you a bit further down the head, but it was one of those moments. It's like, I want to demonstrate this. I want to show this technique off. And it's not really what we're looking at now is what I want to show off. It's what I do to it afterwards and the thought processes and how useful this technique actually is. So you can see that we've got, 30%-ish, 25%-ish white hair scattered evenly throughout that top section. And it's like that pretty much throughout, apart from the very nape area. So to give you some context on what we're trying to achieve here is that we're going to take the whole thing lighter, but we also want to create white hair blending kind of coverage and lift the base in between the highlights. Now, I've already done a full set of highlights on this particular client. I'm 3/4 of the way through a full set of highlights. And if you'd like to see any of my highlighting videos, I've got loads of them over on my channel. We're not here to talk about highlights today though. It is just a byproduct of the result. So it's a really, really kind of common scenario that we're all facing. Clients have put root colours on their own hair and done all sorts of things that we probably wouldn't have got involved with otherwise. And so therefore, it's really important that we kind of have some tools and tips and tricks up our sleeve to help us best combat the things that our clients may have done. We may have even advised them to do this. Some of this was my advice. This was damage limitation. I gave away loads of advice to my clients in lockdown. I know some hairdressers don't think that's a very smart move, but it's damage limitation, guys. Think about it. Your client, if ill-informed, will do all sorts of things to their hair. And if you can give them a little bit of guidance, a little steer them in the right direction, they're going to come to you with much easier hair to fix than if they try and take it on themselves. So always help your clients out, guys. It's really important. So in terms of moving on to kind of where we're at, we're going to jump from this point all the way through to the highlights have been removed, it's been shampooed, it's been conditioned, and it's been taken back to the section where I'm then going to apply a toner. But we'll talk about that in a second and what I did and why I did it. And when we get to see the next step, the highlights are not bang on the roots. It's not about that. It's just about using highlights to create lightness, to break up the demarcation from the root area where the lightest, where the natural color is, and the lightest white pieces, and through to the existing blonde in the hair. Like I said, it's about a 6-inch regrowth. I wish I'd have taken a little picture of the regrowth area, but it's okay. We're not here to worry about that. We're here more to focus on the breaking of the base, the white hair blending that we get from that, and utilizing highlights to create that softer demarcation at the root area. It wasn't about creating perfect highlights. Remember, guys, this is not about a highlighting situation. This is about using highlights to create confusion and diffusion with the natural white hairs and take away some of those darker colors that had been applied in lockdown. Now, at the root area there, what we're going to utilize here to kind of blend it all in and mash it all together is not a normal toner that is a demi-permanent. We're going to use a permanent hair color. So I am using a permanent hair color on level 9 with a natural ash tone with 20 volume. Now you can see the highlights are very, very yellow. So they are in the realms of an 8/9. And I want to neutralize those down a little bit. And because they're kind of pushing an 8, there is some orange in there. So hence why the ash is there. I also need something that will neutralize some of the warmth from the regrowth. Remember, I'm using 20 volume, so I'm going to get roughly 2 levels of lift. And I'm applying it onto wet hair. And obviously that is a different pH to what the hair is supposed to be applied to. So the cuticles are already open. So the toner is going, the tone of the color is going to be a little bit deeper, a little bit stronger in the hair. Just going to apply it very simply on that first 6 inches of hair that I've just colored through. Now what it's going to obviously do is lighten the natural base of the color in between each of the highlights. And because we've got that level 8/9, we're not going to turn our highlights greeny, which we can do. And if you're worried about that, if you think you've lifted it to a cleaner level 9, then maybe you should probably go in with something with a bit of violet in there too, to prevent any greening effects. But simple technique, just apply it like a toner and obviously stretch it down over your highlights. That's all I've done here. Very, very simple. But what I'm looking for this toner to do is I'm looking for this toner to create a very, very soft lift on the natural hair to blend away my highlight lines and demarcation and marking. And then also I want it to tone my highlights simultaneously. And this is just going to help to create a much more succinct, beautiful look to the color, which you're going to see in just a second. And I hope it kind of gives you some ideas about grey hair blending, about utilizing highlights maybe in a different way than you would have done previously, and also creating kind of softer blonde effects and being able to cover grey, tone and blend grey simultaneously all in one step. And when I say cover grey, remember, we're not looking at 100% white hair coverage. We're looking at kind of, if you think of it like tights, you know, they come in different deniers or different kind of thicknesses. And we're looking to create something that looks like a blonde highlight out of their white hair. And if you do it onto wet hair, obviously the cuticles are already open, and it's only going to help to increase and swell the cuticle to allow more colour into the hair, therefore getting more coverage in a short space of time. In a couple of weeks' time, I'm hoping to do a client of mine who's got very resistant grey hair and experiment with something that I spoke about in one of my videos most recently, well, a live stream actually that we did on Wednesday night with myself and Paul, where I had a piece of advice sent to me from an Instagram story where you get better grey hair coverage onto wet hair. So I'm going to try that for you guys, and hopefully in a few weeks' time I'll be able to deliver that episode. But in the meantime, I thought I would keep you all up to speed and with some of the things that I do in the salon. So let's have a look at the finished result now. I hope you enjoy the finished result, and I'll talk you through some of the ideas and different things and different ways you can use this. So here's the finished result, and if we remember back to when I was applying the toner, how strong and streaky and yellow the highlights looked, and how much softer and much more succinct everything looks right here right now. And I've been very brave and parted it heavy and pulled it down so you guys can really see what it would look like, and if it's something that would suit your style, then you can obviously emulate it. If it's not to your taste, then be my guest, don't have to use it. You can see through the ends there, where she's been using phenola and stuff, there's a little bit more kind of heavy deposit of the colour through there, but it's created a much better blend between the two colours. As I say, 6 inches of level 7 tint to go through into that lighter colour through the ends. And as you work through this technique, it's a really nice soft blend all throughout, as you can see on the screen right now, and a really, really easy to do technique. I mean, absolutely bulletproof. You put your highlights in with a fairly chunky weave. You're not really kind of scrutinizing how close you're getting to the roots, because you're going to use the toner at the end, permanent hair color, to break the base, diffuse, create diffusion. And this can be done on any level, guys. Remember, if you want to soften down someone's highlights in terms of the way that they grow out, breaking the base is a really fantastic thing to do. And I know some of you don't like the idea of calling it breaking the base. You can call it bumping the base. You can call it whatever you like. I call it breaking the base because that was the first time I ever heard of it. It was called that, and I stuck with it. But I hope you can see the benefit of this technique. And if you've got clients, with kind of level 6, level 7 hair, level 5, level 4, it doesn't matter. If you want to kind of make your highlights look a lot more blended, a lot more succinct, then you can use these techniques to your advantage to kind of make everything look a lot more expensive than if you didn't use these techniques. You'd have to be so much more careful with how you weave. And if you're trying to get through a lot of hair with a lot of regrowth, with a lot of things going on, and you need to get a lot of foils in, and time is of the essence, then doing techniques like this is really, really important. But remember, guys, you do need to remember your color sciences. So if you're on a level 5, level 4, you're going to expose some undertone. You do need to be really, really careful about making sure you've got some ash in there, or ash as your predominant color. But you don't want to lift your highlights to like level 10, level 9, because if you've got ash and you've got yellow hair, you're going to create like green highlights. So utilize your color knowledge skills. Make sure that you are picking the appropriate color to neutralize or soften out any of the warmth that is going to be exposed from lifting the base, but make sure that you didn't lift your highlights too light at the same time, so that you're left with that kind of yellowy lift, yellowy gold lift, knowing that actually the toner is going to continue to lift the hair a little bit. Remember, permanent color tends to be alkaline, and therefore we get kind of half a shade of lift to maybe even a shade of lift on the highlights, because you saw it there for yourself. They were quite yellow, they were quite, golden, yellow-orange colour. And by putting that permanent toner on there, not only did we lift the base, but it seemed to bump the highlights a little bit as well. So it's quite a technical, and challenging technique to obviously manage, but it is vastly time saving if you can get your head around it. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I'm sure there'll be loads of questions in the comments. I'll be happy to answer as many as I can. And until next time, look after yourself, and don't forget to join me and Paul on Wednesday night for the Wednesday night 9 p.m. BST live stream that we do. And this week Paul is going to be colouring some hair on the bob cut that I did 2 weeks ago. So, till then, look after yourself.